Well, let's go to Milan and let's talk to this man because welcome Adriano. Great to have you on board. I've already said I think the pick of the weekend is this clash between Roma and a struggling AC Milan side. Two coaches under pressure.
Two coaches under a lot of pressure indeed. Roma with a massive injury crisis at the moment, and Milan, well, we know the results have not gone according to plan this season. And not looking too far ahead, but if you look at the fixtures to come after this tricky test at Roma for Milan, it's Spal, Lazio, Juventus and Napoli. So really a disastrous start for Stefano Pioli. 2-2 with Lecce last weekend, and the matches to come only getting tougher and really hard to see where that next win will come for the Rossoneri. For Roma, look, a very disappointing end to their Europa League clash midweek with Borussia Mönchengladbach. You caught it 1-1, a late penalty, very controversial penalty to the visiting side, denying them of a win. And that growing injury list, as I said, with 7 or 8 key players missing. And they too with a tricky upcoming list of fixtures domestically and, of course, with the busy Europa League as well. So pressure on both managers here, Fonseca and Pioli. I really feel this will end all square in a result that won't favour either of the two sides. But certainly more of the pressure on that man there, Stefano Pioli. Where will this first win come from for him? Many are saying Spal will be that match, but given the football we've seen from them under Giampaolo previously and now Pioli, it is still tough to see what the best 11 for Milan, particularly in midfield and up front, what the dynamic will be this weekend. I think we will see another changed 11. So we're no closer to knowing what that best Milan 11 is in the lead up to this big match against Roma, away from home, of course, this weekend.
There you go. So Adriano is suggesting it's going to be a draw, and as he already told you, that is not going to help Fonseca, and it certainly isn't going to help Pioli. So will there be a winner? He reckons not, which means more pressure on both coaches. Let's talk about the Fiorentina and Lazio game. Lazio themselves got problems. They're away. They're doing, as you heard me say, really poorly in a Europa League group where they should be doing far better. I mean, Celtic are topping that group. No disrespect to Celtic, but you'd expect Lazio to be doing better. So pressure on this fella.
Pressure on Inzaghi. His team is still playing some really good football.
Another pick of the matches of the weekend.
Absolutely. Very important because, as I said, Fiorentina have taken on some of the biggest and best clubs this season. You recall back to the opening match day, they took on Napoli. It was a thrilling 4-3 defeat, unfortunately, but they did show signs of improvement. They have shown continual signs of improvement under Monte this season. Very strong recently, playing some teams that, well, they've taken 3 wins from their last 5, winnable matches there, but these are the fixtures which, if they are serious about getting back into European football, these are the matches against direct rivals like Lazio where they will need to get all 3 points. They are, of course, the only team to have taken a point off Juventus this season as well, which cannot be discounted. That was a 0-0 in Florence a few rounds back.
Right, let's talk about the good part of Milan, where you are. We mentioned AC Milan, that's the negative side. We've got a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde thing going on in your neck of the woods at the moment. The good part is Inter, going along pretty nicely. That man Lukaku is scoring. He's had that record, I think, for the away goals. So things generally looking okay.
It is really good to see a few younger faces come through, and I think that's very exciting for Inter fans because, well, for the first time in a long time, obviously Napoli have given Juventus a couple of challenges in recent seasons, but Inter Milan look to be building something very special. And with all due respect to their upcoming fixture list, 4 very winnable games to come. So Inter and Antonio Conte, a near perfect start to the season, and I am expecting them to push Juventus all the way this season.
You do realise you've gone and done it now, because my 2 Manchester United fans, who are my producer and director, right, they said you mustn't mention Lukaku and how well he's doing because they didn't want him to leave Old Trafford, and now they're regretting it. So now you've done it. But anyway, we'll move on swiftly. I want to talk about this Sebastiano Esposito. What a great name. 17 years old, debut, so a sign of things to come.
Absolutely, and this is what I was saying about Inter Milan. Not only have they brought in some sensational players, some legendary players, Diego Godin being one, but they are blooding some very young talents. Esposito became the first player born in the 2000s to feature in the UEFA Champions League for Inter. I can tell you, I've seen him play in the Primavera ranks over here in Italy, which is the youth ranks in Italy, and he is highly touted, highly rated at that level. And certainly, despite being only 17 years of age, he's certainly one to keep an eye on in the future. A sensational player. Of course, won the penalty in that match against Dortmund. Unfortunately, Lautaro Martinez missed that from the spot, but Esposito one to keep an eye on, no doubt.
Sebastiano, easy for me to say, Esposito, you don't want to forget that name. Let's talk about Juventus now. Well, they're away. You were telling me earlier on, they're probably going to rest players. So let's talk about that match. And then if time allows, I want to talk about a stat you've come up with Ronaldo and his not so genius at the free kick since he's arrived at Juventus. But we probably won't see him this weekend.
We won't see him this weekend. All the reports here in Italy are suggesting that Ronaldo will be rested. Yeah, there are a couple of concerns over Aaron Ramsey. We know he's had an injury-plagued career. Not the start he would have liked at Juventus. He's been positive when he's played, but a couple of injury concerns. So hopefully not out for too much longer. I think the footballing world would love to see him get back to his best. The star player, Juventus have invested a lot of money in terms of salary into the player they picked up from Arsenal. So hopefully he's back fit and firing very soon.
Okay, so we've got a little bit of time. Tell me about this anomaly you found out with Mr. Ronaldo. He is a genius, but since he's arrived at Juventus, his free kick ratio is not as good as it was when he was at Real.
He's second worst free kick taker in the competition. Juventus fans themselves are very well aware of this. He rarely beats the wall, let alone scores from the free kick. And with the likes of Milan Pjanic and Paulo Dybala in the squad, who are more than capable, particularly Pjanic, who at one point before Ronaldo's arrival was the best free kick taker in all of Europe, it's very frustrating for Juventus fans. So I think those who don't watch Juventus play week in, week out, stick by the fact of it's Ronaldo, it's a free kick, anything can happen. But it is absolutely not the case. And Neil, I'll tell you what will happen now. The next time Ronaldo takes a free kick, he'll score.
Guaranteed.
And I'll be made to look very silly. But statistically, he is not up there with the best.
Guaranteed. It's the commentator's curse. He'll probably score a hat-trick from dead ball situations. But the thing is the dynamic, isn't it? I mean, if you're in that team, how do you go to Cristiano and say to him, "Oi, mate, have you seen your stats? Let me have a few."
Well, that is the problem. And I think that's down to Maurizio Sarri. I think he needs to make this change because in that match against Lokomotiv, they trailed 1-0 despite having 80% possession. And then you've got Ronaldo standing over a free kick. And I can tell you from a Juventus fan's perspective, that's very frustrating because you've got a golden opportunity to break down a stubborn Lokomotiv defence. And there is Ronaldo standing over the dead ball. You would have much preferred to see Pjanic or Dybala, but again, he'll score next time he takes one and he'll continue taking them. So we'll see how Juve handle it going forward.
Adriano, thanks very much. You gave me some interesting information. I'm going to give you with some food for thought. I think the reason why Ancelotti's eyebrow always rises so swiftly is on account of the fact that he chews that chewing gum so dramatically. Have you seen it? He's like, Anyway, that's something for Adriano to consider. Thanks to him, he's going back to his wonderful life in Milan. He is going to certainly be wearing Inter colours and not AC Milan when you're on the streets of Milan these days, which is understandable. Before we close, I told you we were going Euro Connect, but also Asian Connect, because what's happening on Saturday, Sunday in Japan is the semi-finals of the Rugby World Cup. Huge matches. You've got tomorrow, of course, being Saturday. You've got England and the All Blacks, and then, I don't need to remind you, on Sunday, everybody's behind the boxes. They take on Wales in the second semi-final. From Neil and the Euro Connect team, have a wonderful weekend. Get behind the box.